Hey, this is MassX with a brand new Bleach Soul Reaper video, and this is going to be our May 2024 tier list, SSR Plus only, as well as I'm going to put some parameters out here so you guys understand. This is taking into account that the character is a minimum of 4 stars and it has its release activated. In addition to that, a few other considerations are taken into effect. One is how good its awaken is, and we will talk about that individually for each character, as well as the cost to build, as well as the longevity in the game at this point in time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. Now my top 3 really hasn't changed a lot, and let me explain why. First, Mayori. Let's go right down the line there. First off, easy to build, okay? Very easy compared to most SSR pluses. 2, the revive, absolutely stellar. 3, the poison, absolutely stellar. Now, let's talk about his awaken, as well as a few other things. Now, with Mayori, the fact of the matter is he really only needs to be awakened 3, which makes him ahead of the scale against most characters. Most, to absolutely maximize them, they have to go to 4. But with 3, you get basically the increased basic HP after revival from 40 to 80%. If you can activate that, he becomes a complete monster on the field. His 4 isn't bad, but I don't see anybody using Nemu, so that's the reason why. The other thing also I want to stress is, since he's easier to build, the Soul Jade area is easier to build, which can make him just very difficult to kill. I recommend personally with him, attack and HP, for me, have been the best pushes for him to keep him alive longer and to get the most out of the poison effect. So yes, Mayori to me won't be going anywhere because there's only one hard counter for him, and that's Kenny. And let's be honest, you have to have Kenny awaken for him, we'll talk about him, to make him absolutely good. But when he's not there, he's fine, he's manageable, but at 4 awaken, he's a monster. Next, of course, is Unahan. You all know how I feel about Unahan. She's a character that can have longevity in this game because we have hardly any healers in this game, and she is a monster when it comes to healing. Her ease of build, because of areas in the game that offer her shards, is much better than most characters, and her awaken, even though it needs to be at 4 to fully maximize her, she can still be productive. One of her specialties when it comes to the awaken is she actually has a very good 2, so she really starts to kick in because she gets that casting a skill grants the ally with the lowest HP a shield that absorbs damage equal to 300% of caster's attack, and it lasts 2 turns. Most awakens don't get good till 3 or 4, so yes, that's a major plus for her. And then of course her 3 and 4 are just crazy, and you really don't have to have her 4. All it does is it gives her that additional healing at the beginning of each turn, which, don't get me wrong, is amazing, but at 3 is at her sweet spot, okay? Because then you're granting the ally with the lowest HP and all front row allies a shield. That's when she is at almost max. 4 is great, but you don't have to, so you're seeing the trend here. The top 2 right there don't require you to go all the way to awaken 4 because cost is stupid when it comes to this game getting there. Also, because you can get her shards, you can start to build up the Soul Jade area. Of course, it's not as easy as Mayori, but yeah, I've got her at 3, and she has 6 spots, so it really does help her because, you know, some defense, some blocking, some attack, some HP, some speed. You know, whatever you decide is going to help you the most, at least though you're going to be able to build this area up on her. Now I still have my boy Toshiro in the S tier, and why? because he has one of the most broken awakened skills when you get him maxed. That is just phenomenal. Plus, his freeze can be a killer. It is clutch sometimes to be able to beat teams that you shouldn't beat. That's what makes him so strong. So yeah, his 3 is really solid because casting a skill reduces the target's speed by 10%, stacking up to 5 times, which is great in this game. Speed is king, we all know that. But 4 is just absolutely stupid, okay? Basically, he gets a 0 cost skill, which is crazy, and a guaranteed freeze to 2 targets. Just, it's broken. It's great. Yeah, it doesn't always work in your favor. Sometimes you only get 2 frozen, but when you get that 5 frozen or 6 frozen, yeah, it's GG. Now we're gonna go down to the A tier, okay? And I got my boy Yamamoto first. Why? Because he really is the DPS king in this game when it comes to AoE. The major plus on him for Awaken is you don't have to go to 4 to maximize this character. 1 and 2 are actually more important for him to get that Ryoku cost down because he's on the higher end of the scale for most characters. After that, it's just icing on the cake. For instance, 3, additional effect. When battle starts, reduces healing done by the target by 30%. That's big, especially if they have a healer on their team. Now his 4, which I've been going back and forth about if I'm going to bother with or not, is very good because basically when battle starts, it reduces the target's healing effectiveness by 30%. But the reason why I'm now considering going to it is because of the second part. At the beginning of each turn, increases your speed and attack by 5%. That is crazy. That is really good. But it's not required for him like some characters that we'll talk about down the road. He really, if you just get the Ryoku cost down for him, that is his sweet spot, and everything else is just, you know, like I said, icing on the cake. Next is Byakuya. Why? Well, I have a love-hate relationship with this character. I no longer use him, but he's semi-easy to build compared to other characters, and the fact that you can pretty much guarantee him going first, and he's a back row hitter. That's what makes him shine. You really don't have to go hard into awakening him, which really helps a lot, so your resources can go to the characters that require the awakenings. So that's why I put him in A tier still, because he's solid when it comes to his DPS, and that being able to go first really is big in a game. So I don't want to discount him at all because he is truly, especially when you are starting out, just a solid character. But even though you'll probably find yourself phasing him out for other characters, he's still good and does really good damage. And his Awaken 3 and 4, if you decide to keep using him, are actually good. His 3, you have a chance to apply silence to the target for 1 turn, which again is phenomenal. It's a counter to characters that you really need to use it on. For instance, Toshiro, for instance, Kenny. You get where I'm going with this one. And his 4, okay, isn't really required, but nice, because if he doesn't cast his Zenbone Zakura, then he gets all the same effects that he normally gets in that next turn. So his Senka gets increased. So that's nice. Now we gotta talk about Kenny, my most hated character in this game. Why? Because this character is the best and worst character in the game at times. So yeah, let's talk about him. He's not the hardest to build, character-wise, shard-wise. But yeah, it's a pain to get his release in Awakenings. And he's really only truly an A tier or higher character when he is fully maxed. And let's talk about that. Kenny's 1 and 2 are like most, okay? It's the Ryoku cost down. It's his 3, and in particular his 4, which to make him truly effective and guaranteed win for you, barring getting silenced, barring getting frozen, barring getting slept on by Eisen. So keep that in mind. There are hard counters to Kenny marrying on your team build, and that's another reason why I don't put him top tier, because the cost is high. He really needs to be at 4 awakenings, and there are hard counters for him. But when he's awoken 3, his attack power increases by 30+%. When your HP is below 50%, the effect lasts until battle ends, which is just stupid. Then the additional effects for Savage Cleave and Kinatsu is restores 25% HP based on the damage dealt. His 4 is where he breaks, okay? Increased damage dealt by 10%, and when Kenpachi Zaraki is a 4-star or above, enemies he kills cannot be revived. He is the first and really only true counter to Mayori right now, and that's what makes him pretty amazing. But yes, that, and of course, what he can do, all right? The fact that he can continually attack if he kills the opposing character, it's just dumb. It is absolutely just dumb. Now again, there are hard counters for him, and that's why to me he's not top tier plus that cost. Next is Harel. Why? Well, this character I actually thought might be a top tier character in the game, and I went hard on getting this character. But what I found is I can't put her up there for a few reasons. One is cost to build, just dumb. Getting the shards, as we know, pain in the butt. Getting what you need to release and awaken her to give her her potential, ridiculous. But she is, what I treat her as a support character, and I'll explain to you why in a second. But she is a hard counter to White Ichigo, Kenpachi, any major DPS characters, and it goes a long way. Plus, after round 1, if she survives, she's a beast. Now, talking about her awakening, the first 2 are just reduce 5, and as you can see, I haven't gone hard on her awakening because I just don't see the need with her. It would be great to have that immunity to freeze, stun, paralyze, and sleep. I think that is just amazing, because basically she's gonna always be active on the field, and that's what you want for her, which is great. And her 4, applying torrent to all enemies at battle starts, and the effect lasts 2 turns, is also great, but not essential, and that's why she's rated where she's at, because you don't need those things. And why? It really comes down to her cutting waterfall, okay? It does so much, but the most important thing it does is the attack of targets affected, okay? It can decrease their attack, and by decreasing their attack and decreasing their speed at times, it allows her to always go first every round. And then you just keep activating it, and by shutting their attack down, okay, they can't kill you, these big boy characters like Yamamoto. Like, I've had a Kenny go off on me, and she saved my team because they survive. That is what makes her so good. She hard counters so much when people are so hyper focused on DPS, and if you can cut their attack by 50% or more, yeah, it just gets crazy. Now, in addition to that, she can give herself some she gives herself damage reduction, which so you think about that for a second. If the character has their attack down and damage taken against her, the likelihood of being able to kill her gets low, and that allows her to stay alive. But again, the key with her is getting past round 1 in making sure that waterfall is activated. So yes, to me, she's a phenomenal character. Next is Yami. I've done a video on him. Now, the more I get to play him, the more I like this character. Why? First off, his stats are stupid, and I'll show you that in a second. At 6 stars, he's as strong as a lot of 7-star characters. Plus, his HP allows him to tank long enough. The damage reflect is really cool. Plus, you want him there to just do the damage reflect. Why is he not top tier? Well, I'm finding the damage reflect isn't as strong as I had hoped it would be. But again, that doesn't discount him. Now, really quickly, look at my Harel, 192, 465. Look at my Yami, 196, 82. And he's 1 star less. So he would pass her by 20,000+ easily at 7. And of course, he's not really boosted up in a lot of areas where my other characters are. His HP at 6 stars, crazy when you look at that figure up there. Just really good. Where does he suffer at? Well, of course, his speed, attack, and defense are not great, but it's all about HP with him. Now, looking at his Awaken, okay, it's first his Ryoku costs, and you can see I'm not bothering with any with him. I think he's, again, one of the first true characters that you don't have to build heavy for him. That's the nice thing. Now, 3, his Sero targets 3 enemies at random, which is nice, but not necessary. And 4, his counterattack additional effect, increased speed by 30%, grants 1 stack of Rage Mark when battle starts. Also, not necessary. So you don't have to. Once you release him and just build him as a tank, that's really all you need to do with him. And let him just do what he's supposed to do on there. Hold the front line. He's a hard counter to White Ichigo because he's not a Soul Reaper, and get some reflect. And at times, trust me when I say, the reflect, I see characters die hitting him. Next is Eisen because of his sleep, AoE sleep. That's really what it comes down to. It's very good, very effective. It's a hard counter to all characters, kind of very much like Toshiro, but I do put Toshiro 1 level above him because of that 0 cost. It just is too great. And then, of course, rounding it out is Noora. Why? He is just strong as hell. As back for Eisen with his Awaken, you don't have to do it all the way up to make him effective. That's also another good thing about him. Yes, it's nice when you have him at 4 with the guaranteed sleep to 1 enemy, but it's not necessary to make him effective. For Noora, I do think his 3 and 4 are really necessary to fully maximize his use because the crit rate at 100% at 3 and his Savage Cleave going from 1 enemy to a column just makes him a juggernaut. But because of that investment, that's why I leave him. But he is just a crazy strong DPS. Now, to kind of speed things up for the remainder of the characters, I'm not going to get so heavily into them. But for Shunsui, I have brought him up. I have come to respect this character more. I still don't like the randomness of him hitting the back line, but when he is built up, when he is awakened up, he is a true tank and can wreak havoc on you, or if someone's playing him against you with a well-built one, or for yourself against your opponent, because his ability to stay alive is amazing, but you do got to get into that awakening. Plus, getting his shards is not the easiest in the game, so that's why he's at B tier. White Ichigo, one trick pony. I've said this once, I'll say it twice. Yes, he's got the bleed, it's fine. But the fact of less and less Soul Reapers, he's becoming less of an issue with me because of the character changes I've made. Yes, he's great if you're playing against a pure Soul Reaper team, but again, and the damage reduction, but it's one turn, and he's not easy to build, and he really needs to be, in my opinion, at least at 5 or 6 stars, unless you're solely going to use him for damage reduction and just treat him as a character that's going to die. And that's really, to me, his best use. Ukiura is next. Good character, but not nearly as strong as the counterparts to him currently out. I fully expect in his next form, he is going to be an absolute beast. Gin and Soifon next. Why? Ease of use, ease of being able to get everything on them. Gin's really needs to be awoken as far as you can, because the poison and the effects you get from that are crucial, but he could be a solid character. Problem is DPS. Problem is Soul Jade, only 4 spots. He is going to get power crept the farther along this game goes, and literally that mirrors Soifon, what I just said. Again, strong DPS, easy to build, but same checks against her like Gin. Last but not least, in the B tier, we've got our current rerun banner, Kisuke. Again, a very strong character, getting easier to get what you need to build him, but his best part of his kit, in my opinion, is his passive, that increasing crit damage of 1 back row team member, but it's random, okay? That sucks. The purifying 3 team members at random at the beginning of each turn is great, but it sucks because it's random. That's where his problem lies. If it wasn't random and it just automatically was back row, all 3 with the crit damage, and back row, all 3 with the purification, he would tear up a lot more. And for the bottom row, without getting into any more time, because I'm at 22 minutes, holy crap, I hate doing long videos like this, at least to me. We basically have the bottom of the SSR pluses, and I will just tell you why. They just aren't that good compared to the others. It's that simple. Yes, it's going to be easier to build 3 of the 5 down there. Actually, come to think about it, all 5 are pretty easy to build. Even your Riichi now, you have a means to get her shards. Not as easy to get the release and awaken, but they all are pretty easy, but they all just lack something, in my opinion. And they are all good early game, but you are going to revert them. They aren't going to last. 4 of them only have 4 Soul Jade slots. You see where I'm going on this. The longevity isn't going to be there. Early game, feel free, build them out. Just know you're going to be reverting them, but that's okay. It's nice that we can revert in this game. But that's really it. This is my refocalized tier list now, since I've had the time to spend with most of these characters, as well as monitoring when I play against teams with well-built characters, and I can watch and see what they do to my team. And this, to me, right now, is where I really put these characters. I don't think I would make any more changes, and it's really going to matter on what we see next. The Arankars are turning out to be very good, but you're going to have to pick and choose how you build those, so it's really going to be on effectiveness. And like I always say, I always look at longevity in the meta. DPSs are always going to phase in and phase out, so to me, it's about the other things they can do, in particular support and how they can help your other team members. Let me know what you think about this tier list. Let me know if you agree, disagree, who's your favorite character in the game. With that, as always, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Have a great day.